Welcome to Conversations by Water. My name is Paola Espitia. I'm with Ola'pi Creative, and I just wanted to welcome you all. Today we are obviously by the water. We are at Coolahatchee Park, which is located on Davie Boulevard, just east of 95. So if you've never been to this park, it's really beautiful. Obviously there's a lot of waterfront space, picnic tables in the back. It's a really super spot. So I wanted to take a minute to kind of let you know a little bit about Conversations by Water before we dive in here. And the idea was that we wanted to talk to local leaders about how they were making waves in the community. And what better way to inspire deeper conversation than by spending time by water. If any of you know me well enough, you probably know that I am a huge advocate for time spent by water. This is a concept coined by Wallace J. Nichols called Blue Minds. And the idea is that when we spend time by water, we actually become happier, calmer, more focused, and just better people. And so our goal with Conversations by Water is to not only meet some really amazing local leaders here, but also to inspire deeper conversations by water. So let's keep moving. Today we have a really special guest. We have handwritten artist Renda Writer. So I'd like to welcome Renda with us today.
It's good to be here. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. And we actually connected, I let Renda know that we saw one of his murals in Asheville, North Carolina. So Renda is actually an international artist, mural artist, and why don't you go ahead and let us know, how long have you been in the arts?
Well, I guess I first got involved in the arts period in around 2000. 2000 was when I started writing poetry, writing, recording, and performing poetry. And I did a lot of performing at open mic nights all throughout New York and then Florida. I was born in New York, moved to Florida, moved back to New York, and then moved back to Florida in like 2005. So in 2005, I took the previous 5 years of like really getting into poetry in New York, and I kind of refined it. And I put out a CD, and then I started hosting events, performing more. So that was like circa 2005. But that's my poetry background, and that's my love for words. And then that goes up to like 2012 or so. 2011, 2012 is when I started to dabble with the idea of making my words a visual medium, you know, and turning it into handwritten art. So now here I am, you know, it's 2018. I've been doing handwritten art for, I guess, about 6 years, and I love it. This is my thing.
How many murals have you done?
I don't know exactly. I've done definitely over 100. I've done 52 world peace murals. So that I have a count of 52 exactly. And I just did number 52 in Philadelphia. But overall, I think I've done a little over 100.
So what is this? This is somewhat of a newer project, the World Peace Tour. Can you explain what that's all about?
Yeah. Well, basically, you know, like I said, I started doing a lot of art in like 2012. Then I did my first mural in 2014. And that was a hit, so to speak. That was a success. You know, that like put me on the map, got a lot of people to know me, and it got me to know myself better, really, because I just started to realize, okay, this is it. This is the medium I like. You know, I had done art on canvas and found objects and all kinds of stuff, but the mural thing just, you know, changed me, like woke me up, opened me up. So yeah, so I started doing murals in 2014, but 2016, for those 2 years, I was really trying to figure out how to take this new mural concept and travel with it. Because all throughout my life, really, way back to the poetry and before that, all I ever really wanted to do was travel.
Yeah.
You know? And I think a lot of people could probably identify with that, because I think most people have this strong desire to travel. Whether they act on it or not is up to them. But I think deep down, a lot of people want to see the world. You know, and so I'm no different. I always wanted to see the world, but I didn't want to just like travel like a tourist. I want to travel like with a reason, with a purpose, you know?
Yeah.
So I just was kind of marinating on that concept for years, and I feel like if you marinate enough on a concept, a desire, you know, you'll get it. You know, if you keep your energy right, you know, you keep your focus, you keep your surroundings right, you'll get whatever it is you desire. You just got to give yourself some time and, you know, be patient with yourself. So I did just that. And so like 2016, a lot of these things came to a head, like the opportunity, the desire, the resources, the background, it all just kind of like crystallized and came together. And that was when I got the idea, like, okay, world peace, that's the message. That's what I'm gonna do. That's gonna work. That's gonna take me around the world, and that's what it's gonna be, you know? The way that happened, though, more specifically was, you know, I'm a real big fan of hip hop, like good old hip hop. And KRS-One is one of my favorite hip hop artists, and he put out a song back in 1989 called World Peace. And so, you know, I had that song in my head for 20 plus years circulating, like, you know, a lot of songs just come and go in my head like a jukebox, you know?
Yep.
But there was a day in 2016 when that song popped in my head, and as, you know, I didn't really know, I'm like, why am I singing World Peace by KRS-One? You know, like, where did this come from? But there's a reason for everything, even the thoughts you have, you know what I mean? Maybe all your thoughts aren't 100% your own. Maybe some are kind of come your way, you know, because of an energetic flow or whatever. So for whatever reason, that song jumped in my head, and then I had the realization, like, okay, that's the message. That's what I'm gonna write. That's the thing that I can write that is simple, that is acceptable, that is selfless, that makes a point, you know? And so then I just started putting the pieces together once I had that realization, you know? And I was friends with a woman who was the personal assistant to a wealthy retired lawyer, and he was looking for something philanthropic to do, and he was looking to put his money on an artist. So she said to me, just put together a proposal and I'll give it to him. We'll see what he says. So I put together a proposal to create 5 murals in 5 cities. It was like Philly, New York, DC, and I don't really remember, Boston and Detroit. And so I asked for $5,000 to do those 5 cities, and then she said $5,000 is nothing to him. You should like totally ask for more. But
it's a good tip.
yeah. So, and I should have just bumped it up to like 10 or 20, but me still being conservative, I was like, okay, 8. So, and that was nothing to him. He cut me a check for $8,000, no problem. And I did those 5 murals, but I had it all set up, like planned out. So it was like I was going to do the first mural in Boston, and it was going to be July 4th. So that was like appropriate, 4th of July in Boston, which was like a patriotic, you know, city, one of the original 13 colonies and stuff. So that was the plan. But he gave me the $8,000 in like May, and I didn't have to do the first mural till July in Boston. And so I just started doing murals ahead of time, because walls would come my way, opportunities to do murals came my way. But a lot of these opportunities, the person commissioning me or whatever was not very specific about what they wanted. They were just like, you do a mural. So that's when I started to think, well, I don't have to wait till July. I could do a world peace mural right now, you know? So that's what I did. So my first world peace mural was in Miami. Then I did one in Fort Lauderdale. Then I did one in Asheville. And then I did another one somewhere. And then it was time for Boston. So by the time I went to Boston, I had already done 5 murals. And so I did Boston and I did Detroit. And then I realized, there's no point in stopping at 5 murals, you know, like, I'll just do this for the rest of my life. And there's no point in stopping when his money runs out. I'll just figure out another way to get money later. And so I did. So I did all those 5 cities. I did like 5 before that. I did those 5. I used his $8,000, but I ended up doing like almost 16 murals total with his money. So I stretched that money, you know, and I did well. And then I did another 15 or 16 basically with my own money. And then I created a GoFundMe account and created about another 15 or 16 with GoFundMe donations. So that brings me up to about 52 right now. So yeah, here I am getting ready to go to Mexico next week to do one on the border wall on the Mexican side in Tijuana, right on the wall.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, so it sounds like it's GoFundMe right now is one way that people can help you out. And we'll actually be putting that link down here in the comments, so look for that. But you actually call yourself a handwritten artist. I had never heard that term before, and there's a good reason for that, because
I invented it. Well, you know, I mean, I believe in inventing yourself, and if you don't like yourself, I believe in reinventing yourself, you know. And I think every person at some point in their life should realize that they can reinvent themselves. You know, typically you've already been invented by your family and your society and stuff, and maybe that wasn't exactly what you wanted to be, you know. Maybe it's very far off from what you wanted to be, or maybe it's kind of close. Maybe you have anger and resentment about that, or maybe you're like, oh, it's cool, I just want to tweak it a little. So that's kind of where I am. I just tweaked myself, you know. I was groomed to be a regular kind of person, but innately I am not. So I, you know, just sort of returned to my authenticity, you know, like my authentic self. So you know, it starts with your name, your title, you know, like who are you? Are you the name that your parents gave you, or are you something else? So I'm something else, you know. But yeah, handwritten artist just means that. I'm an artist and my art is my handwriting. So the handwritten word, how it looks and what it says. And that's me in a nutshell. So whether I'm writing on a canvas, or I'm doing a mural, or I'm writing on a car, or a football helmet, or a sports jacket, or a dress shirt, or a beer tap, I mean, these are all things I've written on. And so that's my art. You know, if I write on something, if I write a word or a bunch of words, that's what I do. You know?
And I think the way that you're specifically making waves is with the simplicity of the message. You know, sometimes you know, we have to refocus on making things simple but significant. I think Don Draper, that's his quote, and we forget about that. We tend to you know, make things overly complex. We tend to overthink things. There's many people who would not just, you bought your ticket to Mexico just a couple of days ago, and then, you know, who knows what will happen after that, but it seems like the universe has always been giving back. And so just being, like you say, in that flow state and keeping to the simple, that actually ends up having a really like more impact, a very powerful impact on your life. And that message of world peace, it's simple but significant, and that's such an amazing way to make waves, not only here locally. Your Fort Lauderdale mural is where?
I have one right behind Sears on Sunrise Boulevard in Federal. It's in the Mass District.
Yeah.
Music and Arts south of Sunrise, Mass District. But yeah, it's right there. It's right by the Sears.
Perfect. So you have that mural here locally, but then now you're getting to be able to do this project internationally. And that, I mean, of all messages, that is such a powerful message to spread to the world. Everybody, I think, can be in agreement, you know, that that's an ultimate goal.
Yeah.
It would be really neat to also write it in other languages.
Yeah, which I've done. The one I just did in Haiti, or I did two in Haiti, and I wrote World Peace in English, and I wrote Paix Mundial, which is World Peace in Creole. So I did two murals there where I wrote that. And then I did one in Dallas and one in New York where I incorporated Spanish. I wrote Paz Mundial. I did one in the South Bronx, and it's like a heavy Latin community there. And then I did one in Dallas, also a heavy Latin community. So I incorporated Spanish and English.
I think another neat thing about this World Peace Tour is that you have mentioned that this is something that will be a lifelong endeavor, and that you already got your initial funding to be able to do a couple projects. You seem to be getting more funding to do, you know, continue the project. But this is something that you want to do throughout your life.
Yeah, and that's strong. Like for me, that's strong because I don't want to say that I'm like non-committal, you know, or anything like that, or some stereotypical dude kind of a thing. But the truth is, I have never really committed to anything the way that I have committed to this, you know. I've never been married, you know. A marriage is an example of a lifelong commitment, or should be, you know. So I've never been married. I don't really have a lot of experience with real strong commitment. I mean, that's not to say that I'm flaky either. I do what I feel, you know. I do what my heart tells me at all times. Sometimes my heart changes and I do something else, but this is the first thing where I'm like, nah, I could just say right now without a shadow of a doubt, I'm gonna do this for the rest of my life, and that statement will never change. You know, that reality will never change. I'll just do it for the rest of my life, however long that is. If I'm here another 20 years, 40 years, whatever it is, you know, and hopefully I just plain die. Hopefully I don't get like sick or incapacitated and have a few years that I'm alive but not able to do murals, you know, but whatever. So yeah, my point is, you know, that's worth mentioning when you talk about this, the World Peace Mural Tour, and what it means to me. It means everything. It is my life. They are the same thing. I draw no distinction between my life and my art. You know, I know a lot of people do. They say, well, that's the work version of me, or, you know, that's this. Nah, not with me. With me, life is art. It's the exact same thing. My life is my art. My art is my art, and then, you know, a subset of my art is the World Peace Mural Tour, and that's a part of my art that I just want to continue forever. You know, that's why I hesitate to use the word like project to describe it, because project kind of seems like it ends, you know. And so, you know, a lot of times people say to me, oh, how was your tour? You know, I'm like, I'm still on it, you know, like I'm touring right now, like this is it. My life is world peace, you know. Or people say, well, what are you gonna do if we achieve world peace? Will you stop? I'm I'm like, no, this is for the rest of my life. It doesn't matter what happens. You know, if you're trying to lose weight, let's say you lose your goal of 30 pounds. Okay, so then do you just go back to eating bad? You know what I mean? Like, you continue to diet, or you continue to eat a new way so you can maintain the weight you wanted. So if we achieved world peace, I would still write world peace, because I would want it as a reminder to maintain what we have achieved, you know? So it's always going to be a relevant message, you know, whether we're at war, whether we're at peace, whether we've got Trump in office or someone else. It really doesn't matter, you know? A lot of people bring up Trump to me and stuff like that, and that's cool, but it's like, dude, he's going to be here for 4 years or maybe 8, and I'm going to be doing this for 40 more years. So you tell me which is more significant, you know, in my view. It's just about world peace, just those 2 words over and over. As many times as I can write them, I'm good, you know?
It's a really good point to note that you have a good bigger picture perspective.
Yeah.
That we can be very caught up in the moment. Have you ever heard of the marshmallow test?
No.
The marshmallow test, you may have heard it or not, but basically there was research to see what happens when you give kids a marshmallow and you say, if you wait 10 minutes, I'll give you 2 marshmallows.
Yeah.
And so, you know, you sit there and you see like the kids are really antsy, and most of the kids take the 1 marshmallow in like 30 seconds. They can't even handle it. That instant gratification. But some kids do wait out, and then they get rewarded for waiting out. And so it's understanding what the bigger picture is, that when you do wait out and you do have that bigger mission and that bigger purpose, that your life is more rewarding.
Yeah, it changes everything. It changes everything. Once you gain focus, once you gain like a more long-sighted approach, everything will change. You know, when you think about the future, your present changes, you know?
Yeah.
And I believe, you know, I don't know how like weird this sounds or whatever, but I believe past, present, and future are all the exact same thing. I believe that time is not linear. It is not a straight line. I believe in parallel dimensions. I believe in all sorts of weird stuff that would, you know, be too much for this right now.
For another talk, maybe.
But that's what I'm saying, you know, so that because I have a kind of unorthodox view on time and the way time elapses, what it all boils down to is the time is now. The time is right now. Whatever you're trying to do it right now, because nothing is guaranteed. The past is over. The future is yet to happen. The present is right now. That's why it's called the present. It's a gift. You know, all these things that we've heard. And so I just try to like live that. Like, you know, these philosophies that I have, it's not just some stuff I'm saying. It's for real. This is my life. And I believe, I believe in this view of time, like the time is now, you know, and I believe that we can communicate with the future self of us and the past self, and this is something I just kind of discovered sort of recently through KRS-One again. You know, he's just a rapper, but he's a rapper that's so much bigger than that, and he's influenced me in many ways. But I listened to this long clip of his where he was talking about that concept of having conversations with the future you and the former you, and like calling upon the future you for guidance, or calling upon the former you to give that former you advice that you needed that only the current you can give, and stuff like that. So yeah, all that being said, the time is now, you know, and I just got a deep appreciation for time, for life, for the present moment, and therefore for doing what I want to do, you know, and nothing's gonna hold me back. Just do what I want, and so I'm doing it, and that changes the whole quality of life, you know. My health, everything is like different, you know. I'm good.
What's the best piece of advice you ever got?
Do what you love. Do what you love. You know, I never really received that advice from a specific person that I could point to or whatever. So it's just a very, very general piece of advice that I'm sure everyone has heard in some shape or form. But I've heard it, and but it took many years for it to click, you know. I mean, in general, the average American person probably hears that phrase at least once or twice by the time they're 12 or 13. But when do they act on it? You know, when do they realize what that means? Do what you love. It just sounds like a cool phrase. Yeah, do what you love. You know, all right, yeah, I do what I love, whatever. But do what you love. Like, really do it. Tap in, and that's where I'm at. You know, I started to kind of hear that and take heed to it towards the end of college, because I went to college because it was just the thing you do. You know, like this was kind of before I became like my real authentic self. So I went to college because I was smart enough to go, and because my parents had the money to send me, and I got some scholarships, and they did the prepaid college thing, and so it was just like, you go to college. All my friends were going to college, you know, But once I got there, I didn't really know what I was doing. I studied really hard. I got great grades. It's not like I partied my ass off. But even that was kind of like misdirected. I almost wish I had partied more, you know, because I studied so much, but I didn't even know what I was studying for. I didn't know what I was even doing. I was getting straight A's. I got straight A's my whole freshman year, and I think I got straight A's most of my sophomore year. But I was an undeclared major. I didn't know, you know. But then it was around the time of like senior year that I started to take heed to that, do what you love. And at the time, what I loved was hip hop. So I moved to New York to work in the record industry, and I did, you know. Obviously, I'm not there now because what I love changed. I still love hip hop. I just don't love the idea of working in the record industry. What I love more is being a self-employed, handwritten artist. So I am.
It's a neat thing too that as we get older, we start understanding that our interests do change, our passions do change, and that it's okay, you know, you can always be doing what you love. It's just a matter of that particular season. What is it that that you love in that season?
Yeah.
What
And it's good to combine some things you love too. You know, if you can do that, you're the man.
You're golden. That's exactly what we're doing.
Take, you know, 1 or 2 or 3 of your interests, combine it, and chances are when you do that, you've done something that no one else has ever done. You know, and then you're good. You're an individual. You're you. And
you're utilizing your skills to the best of your capacity, and it all ends up working out really well in that way. What would you tell people who, right now, maybe they're still trying to find their purpose, they're not sure what they want to do right now? What would be some good guidance for them?
Well, I guess I would start by saying the same thing. Again, do what you love, you know. But to expand on that, in doing what you love, because that sounds so like simple and so basic, so it's kind of hard, you know. Like if you're young or you're lost or you don't know what you're doing, hearing me say do what you love is probably not going to do much for you, you know. So to get more specific, it's like, okay, do this. Like start by looking at your interests and your hobbies. What excites you, regardless of money, regardless of anything really, just regardless of other stuff. What excites you? You know, what is it that you do that when you're doing it, you lose track of time?
Right.
You know? If you're doing something
I say that all the time.
That makes you lose track of time, and you're doing something that makes you feel good, like physically, like, you know, maybe typically you got stomach aches or a certain pain, but when you're doing this, you don't feel any of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so,
that's a thing.
So do that. Start there. Just like gauge, do an inventory of what your interests and your passions are. And maybe even if at the time, like at this time, the time I'm talking to you, maybe you feel like, well, I don't have any passions, I don't have any interests. Well, then that's cool. Look back to when you did. Because maybe the only reason you're not pursuing those passions or interests anymore is because you started to buy into some belief system that, you know, made you think you couldn't do it. So just reawaken that. Think back to your childhood, really. And that's, you know, interesting and still kind of part of what we were just saying. Like, so, okay, I've given you a little glimpse into my childhood and my upbringing. Obviously, hip-hop was a big part of it. So I'm still doing hip-hop. Like, hip-hop taught me the appreciation for words. Getting so into hip-hop made me become a poet. Because it's like, all right, a poet is like a rapper, but a different cadence and a different speed. So I became a poet. That fulfilled me very much for many years, and still does. But I grew older and I had to shift a little. So, okay, it's like I still love hip-hop. I still love poetry. But why do I love those things? Because I love words. So I love words, and now I'm starting to develop an appreciation for visual art. So how can I bridge all this? You know, and then it just makes sense. Like, okay, so you're a handwritten artist. Your art is the words. You love the words because you always loved the words. You love hip-hop growing up, you know? So I think that's important. So yeah, to the people watching, like, just look at your interests, look at your passions, your hobbies, look at the things that excite you and make you happy, like you, when you're in a vacuum, you know, like when you're not surrounded by family or friends or, you know, whatever. And I think one place I learned that is a book called The Celestine Prophecy.
Yes,
So I recommend that. Read that book. I mean, read lots of books. Books will motivate you. Experience things. Experiences will motivate you. Watch interviews like this or whatever. I watch tons of interviews. But the book, The Celestine Prophecy, talks a lot about that. The main character, when he gets to like the 8th insight or whatever, he starts learning that it's about looking at your life and like seeing the patterns and seeing the things you did in childhood and bringing that forward, you know, like paying attention to your life almost like a third-person observer. And so that's what I do and have done many times. You know, I've consulted with the young me, You know, like, what's up? All right, young Renda, I see you just love to clean your room and listen to hip hop and do your homework and write really small. You know, and that's what I did. I was just a nerd, and I would answer, you know, I would do my homework and I would answer these questions with like the most verbose answers ever, but I had to write so small to fit these lengthy answers, you know. So what am I doing now at 39? The same thing, you know, the same thing, but in a different form. Yeah, I'm writing a lot, I'm writing small, but I'm writing real piece, and I'm traveling, and I'm getting paid for it, and I'm listening to hip hop on my headphones while I'm doing it, and you know what I mean? So just stay true to the kid in you, really. Like, bring the kid into the present. Be an adult, be mature, handle your responsibilities, do adult things, but the kid in you is always going to tell you what you should be doing.
Yes,
so
your true self, the purity of who you are started at that age.
Yeah, and it's before society took a hold of you and stuff, you know. And so when you realize that and you act on it, you'll be kind of returning to your innocence, but you'll be doing it with an adult perspective. And so do it, and do it right though. Do it, you know, don't do it with some resentment towards society. You know, some people have this whole attitude of like, F society, you know, like, dude, I can't identify with that, you know. I live in many ways in an unorthodox way. I live in many ways outside of society, but I don't have any hatred for it. Society gives us roads, you know, to travel on, and you know what I mean? Like, it gives us a lot of cool things. So live in society and be functional, but also live in your dreams. Like, live in your head and your heart, and just flow with that, and you'll be able to like sail above it all. Everything will just be kind of easy. But getting there won't be. But once you kind of get in it, you'll realize, dude, it's been easy all along, you know?
Yeah, there's definitely a point when you realize you're on the right track, when everything just kind of is in flow.
Yeah.
And opportunities show up, and everything gets covered, all of your expenses get covered, and you're traveling, and you're incorporating all these little tiny pieces that you thought, how on earth could I ever make a living out of doing that? And then suddenly you're doing it, and then you realize that this is it. But it's always a journey, you know? This is it for now, and then that's okay if it changes later, but it's a beautiful realization to be in flow.
Yeah, it is, and it's, you know, it's easy. There's been other interviews where people have asked me like, what's the hardest thing about being an artist? And I remember I answered that question by saying the hardest thing is realizing that it's easy.
Yeah.
You know, because the truth is, nothing is hard. You know, as soon as you start using that word, as soon as you define something as hard, then it is. You know, so careful how you use that word. You know, don't call nothing hard. I don't call nothing hard. But the hardest part, therefore, is just to realize how easy it all is. You know, and once you realize it's easy, you got that easiness on your side. You know, and you can roll. And so that's why I guess another piece of advice I would give is like, you know, be careful with how you spend your time. Time is life, you know, and it sounds basic, right? But think about it, like I say it again, like time is life, and life is time, and that's where the word lifetime comes from, you know, like your lifetime, what is your lifetime? It's the amount of time that your life took up, you know, so every minute, every second is your life. And you have a right to relax, you have a right to veg out, you have a right, you know, to do nothing at certain times. But in general, seize the day, carpe diem, look at it like that, like this is my life. So the time, if it takes 5 minutes to send an email to this city person and ask if I could do a mural, okay, that's 5 minutes. That's how long it took me to email an inquiry to do a mural. There are people that spend 5 minutes just arguing on Facebook about Donald Trump or the Grammys or whatever. So, and that's what I'm saying, I'm not even knocking that, but it's just like, 5 minutes is 5 minutes. So how are you going to spend your 5 minutes and your 10 minutes and your 20 minutes and your year? And so basically, how are you going to spend your life? Once you realize that life is just this summation of all these different increments of time, then you'll probably be a little more careful with how you spend your time. And that's why I use that example of like 5 minutes of sending an email or whatever, because the other valuable thing you have aside from time is the internet. Like, I'm an internet fiend. I'm all over social media all the time. You got this the power of the entire world in your pocket, on your phone. But, you know, power is a crazy thing, so you could do anything with it. You could just sit there looking at pictures of cute dogs or, you know, whatever it is. And that's what I'm saying. There's nothing wrong with that, but just realize, like, anything you want to do right now can be done through your phone. Out of the 53 murals I've done for World Peace, and out of the 100 plus I've done, 60-70% at least came from just me going on Facebook or Instagram and just networking, just asking people questions. Just, hey, if I see if there's a gym in Arizona that posts a picture on their Instagram of a person working out and I see a blank wall in the background, you know what I'm about to do. You know what I mean? Like, that's how I roll. I will email them right away. Hey, I saw your last post. You got a beautiful clean wall in the background. Have you ever thought of putting a mural on it? Check out my work, you know? And that takes X amount of minutes, whatever, and that's what I did. And that's what I do, and it just works, you know? So spend your time and your resources in a focused kind of way, you know? That's it. I mean, Instagram and Facebook have been like everything to me. For the murals and for selling my art too, you know, I use my time wisely. I don't go on there to like bicker or whatever, you know? Or even just to create dialogue. I don't have a lot of time for dialogue that isn't like meeting somewhere, you know? So it's just like, where's this going? You know, I got goals, I got directives I'm trying to reach, and this is my tool for getting there. So let's use it.
Yeah, and that's a super way to end up to see how to use social media, to be really intentional. We talk about that all the time too, is, you know, we're not trying to just, like post a cute picture of the dog. You know, if it happens to go up, it goes up. But I mean, at the end of the day, we are really trying to make an impact using these social, you know, Instagram and Facebook only as a tool to be able to get the message out, to be able to share the message. And that's the beautiful thing about social media, is that it allows us to share. But why not be intentional about what we're sharing, and why not share something that's going to make an impact and make waves out there?
Yeah.
So I think we're gonna wrap up here real quick, but I want to thank you so much for taking your time to share your insight with me, with our community, with your community. It's very cool to dive in a little bit deeper into these kinds of conversations, and I think it's really important for people to hear these kinds of conversations, because again, we are trying to be more intentional and more meaningful. We're trying to create more meaningful lives and more meaningful moments. So thank you for helping me create a meaningful moment.
Yeah, thank you.
And so if you want to know more about that World Peace Tour, we are going to include the link down here in the comments so you can find out how you can help spread world peace and support our local artists. We're all for that. And are there any other parting words? Or?
WorldPeaceMuralTour.com. That's my website for the World Peace, and then I have RendaWriter.com. But yeah, other than that, just like I've been saying this whole interview, just do what you love and do it all the way, because your time is limited. So do it right now. Like, hopefully this helped a little. So turn this off and now go do what you got to do.
And peace.